2004. A shrimp farmer in Cuddalore, India. 8 years earlier, he had cleared the mangroves behind his village to build shrimp ponds. The ponds were profitable at first, but by 2003 the soil had degraded from years of chemical buildup. The water was contaminated. The ponds were abandoned. The land was barren, useless for anything. Then the tsunami arrived. His village had no mangroves, no buffer, no protection. 6,000 people died. 500 meters away, a village that had kept its mangroves lost 2 people. The ecosystem he had destroyed was the one he needed most. What should he have done differently? And what does that decision teach us about mangrove management? That is what this video is about. This is the third and final video in the mangrove series. Video 15 covered the mangrove environment and adaptations. Video 16 covered the 4 values. This video 17 covers threats and management at the depth you need for the highest mark exam questions. This video is specifically for you if you can already name threats and strategies, but your answers feel too vague to score well. If you lose marks on evaluate questions because you list strengths and weaknesses but forget to write a final judgment. If you mix up the Singapore and Vietnam case studies. By the end, you will be able to explain each threat with the precise mechanism, use both case studies correctly, and write a complete 6-mark evaluate answer from memory. Here is the roadmap. We start with the 3 threats, each explained at the level of mechanism, not just name. Then 3 management strategies, each with a named case study. Then, and this is what makes this video different from the previous 2, we practice writing a full 6-mark evaluate answer together. We also do a comparison of mangrove and rainforest management, which can come up as a final exam question. The whole video is about 17 to 18 minutes. Have paper ready? You will be writing during this one. Chapter 1. 3 threats to mangroves. Here is the first thing I want you to understand before we go through them individually. The 3 threats are not equal. They differ in who causes them, how permanent the damage is, and whether local management can address them. Understanding those differences is what will set your answers apart. Threat 1. Aquaculture. The biggest direct human cause. Threat 2. Coastal development and land reclamation. The most permanent. Threat 3. Sea level rise. The one that no local management strategy can stop. Threat 1. Aquaculture, specifically shrimp farming. The mechanism matters here, not just the name. This is how it happens, step by step. Step 1. A mangrove forest is cleared. Trees are felled or burned. Step 2. The land is drained and leveled. The tidal habitat is destroyed. A flat, flooded pond is created. Step 3. The pond is stocked with shrimp. Farming is intensive, high chemical inputs, feeds, and pesticides. Step 4. After 5 to 10 years, the soil and water quality deteriorate. Waste builds up. Chemical contamination sets in. The ponds are no longer productive. Step 5. The ponds are abandoned. The land is left barren. It is too contaminated for mangroves to regrow. Then, and this is the part that makes the cycle especially damaging, the farmers move to a new patch of mangrove and begin again. This is the drain, pond, abandon, repeat cycle. Remember those 4 words. Now, the scale. Southeast Asia has lost approximately 50% of its mangrove cover, largely from shrimp farming expansion since the 1970s. Vietnam alone lost around 50% of its mangroves before the integrated farming model was introduced. The damage from aquaculture is described as semi-permanent. Here is what that means. Unlike selective logging in a rainforest, where the forest can partially regenerate naturally over time, abandoned shrimp ponds leave the soil in a degraded chemical state. Mangroves cannot simply grow back on their own. But, and this is important for management, if the tidal zone still physically exists, recovery is possible with active intervention. That is why replanting can work on aquaculture cleared land. It cannot work on reclaimed land, and we will explain why in a moment. Threat 2. Coastal development and land reclamation. The mechanism. Mangroves are cleared from the intertidal zone. The tidal flat is then filled with sand, rock, or dredged material. The filled area is raised above the tidal level, and buildings, roads, ports, or industrial estates are constructed on the reclaimed land. Why is this different from aquaculture? Because the intertidal zone, The physical space where mangroves grow no longer exists. There is no pathway to restoration. You cannot unreclaim land. With aquaculture, the tidal zone may still be there even if the land is degraded. Restoration is very difficult, but theoretically possible. With land reclamation, the habitat is gone. No replanting program can restore a mangrove where there is no tidal zone to plant in. Singapore is the most striking example of land reclamation and mangrove loss. Since the 1960s, Singapore has reclaimed significant areas of its coastline to build housing estates, industrial areas, ports, and infrastructure. Changi Airport, HDB developments, Jurong Island. These all required land, and that land came from the coast. The result, Singapore has lost over 95% of its original mangrove cover. Only approximately 650 to 700 hectares remain today. That is concentrated at Sungei Buloh, Mandai, and Pulau Ubin. The original mangrove area covered thousands of hectares along Singapore's coastlines. That loss is final. NParks can plant propagules at Sungei Buloh because Sungei Buloh still has an intertidal zone. But the land reclaimed for housing or airports cannot be de-reclaimed. That loss is permanent. Threat 3, sea level rise and the squeeze effect. First, the normal story. As sea levels rise, the intertidal zone gradually shifts landward. It moves to higher ground to stay at the correct tidal elevation. If mangroves can migrate inland with the shifting intertidal zone, they survive. Now, the squeeze effect. Most developed coastlines have hard infrastructure immediately behind the mangrove belt. Seawalls, roads, buildings, these are immovable. As the sea level rises, the mangroves need to move inland, but the barrier blocks them. They are squeezed between the rising sea in front and the hard barrier behind. The intertidal zone shrinks from below them. Eventually, the mangroves drown. There is one more reason the squeeze effect is uniquely difficult. Aquaculture is caused by local human decisions. It can be regulated locally. Coastal development is caused by local decisions. It can be prevented by local decisions. It can be prevented by law. But sea level rise is driven by global greenhouse gas emissions. No local conservation strategy, no matter how well designed, can stop the sea from rising. That requires global action. Before we move to management, let me give you the one comparison that will help you with any exam question about threats. Aquaculture is a human cause. It can be regulated locally. The damage is semi-permanent, very hard to restore, but recovery is possible with intervention if the tidal zone still exists. Land reclamation is a human cause. It can be prevented by law. But the damage is permanent. The intertidal zone is gone and restoration is impossible. Sea level rise is a global cause. It cannot be addressed by any local management strategy. The damage is ongoing and accelerating. When an exam question asks you to explain a threat, choose the one you can explain most completely. Aquaculture gives you the richest mechanism to explain. Chapter 2. 3 Management Strategies. Replanting, active restoration of degraded areas. Protected areas, legal designation that prevents development. Community-based management, the strategy that aligns conservation with economic incentives. Each has strengths and limitations. And the most important lesson of this chapter is that no single strategy is sufficient on its own. Strategy 1. Replanting. How it works. Propagules, mangrove seedlings that have already germinated on the parent tree, are collected from healthy parent trees. The correct species must be matched to the correct tidal zone. This is critical. Different mangrove species tolerate different salinity levels and flooding durations. Put the wrong species in the wrong zone and it will fail. Propagules are planted at low tide in prepared mud zones. Wire cages or stakes may be used to protect young plants from wave damage or trampling. Planted areas are then monitored. Failures are replaced. Species composition is adjusted based on what is establishing successfully. Strengths, it actively restores lost cover. It can be targeted at priority degraded zones. Community planting programs have real public education value alongside the habitat impact. Limitations, high failure rates when species matching is wrong. Planted stands take decades to develop the biodiversity complexity of mature natural mangroves. It cannot work on reclaimed land, and it is small in scale relative to historical losses. The Singapore case study for replanting. Singapore's National Parks Board, NParks, leads mangrove restoration efforts. At Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve, staff and volunteers collect propagules from healthy parent trees within the reserve and plant them in degraded fringe zones. Species are carefully matched to the tidal elevation of the target site. At Mandai, mangrove planting is carried out alongside seagrass and coral restoration as part of Singapore's broader coastal habitat goals. Survival rates, well-matched plantings, achieve 60 to 80% survival. Mismatched plantings, wrong species in the wrong zone, can fail almost entirely. Scale, Singapore currently has around 650 to 700 hectares of mangrove remaining. NParks plants hundreds of propagules per year. But Singapore has permanently lost hundreds of hectares to land reclamation. The replanting program is genuine and worthwhile, but it addresses a fraction of the historical loss. Let me give you the full evaluation now because you may need to write this in an exam. Strengths of replanting at Sungei, Buloh and Mandai. It actively restores habitat in degraded zones where the tidal zone still exists. Community planting programs build public awareness and engagement. The site's international recognition, Ramsar, Asian Heritage Park, signals Singapore's commitment to conservation. And adaptive monitoring means failed plantings are identified and corrected. Limitations. Success depends entirely on correct species selection. Planted stands take decades to approach the biodiversity of mature natural mangroves. The scale is extremely small relative to 95% historical loss, and replanting simply cannot work on the land that has been reclaimed. That intertidal zone is gone. Judgment: replanting is meaningful but insufficient as a standalone strategy. It is most effective when combined with legal protection and where the tidal habitat still exists. Strategy 2. Protected areas. A government designates a mangrove area as a legal nature reserve. Development, logging, and harmful activities are prohibited within the boundary. Rangers or conservation officers enforce the rules. International designations, Ramsar Convention, UNESCO World Heritage Status, Asian Heritage Park, add global accountability and attract research funding. Strengths: protected areas are the strongest tool for preventing further loss. They stop clearance at the source. They preserve intact, high biodiversity stands. And international recognition creates public and political pressure to maintain the protection. Limitations: protected areas do not restore what was already lost, they only protect what remains. They can exclude local communities who depend on the mangroves for their livelihoods, creating resentment and conflict. Enforcement requires sustained resources and political will. And they offer no protection whatsoever against the squeeze effect from sea level rise. Strategy 3. Community-based management. And this is where the understanding goes deepest. The strategy involves giving local communities shared management rights and responsibilities for mangrove areas, alongside continued, regulated, sustainable use. The key word is alongside. Conservation and livelihood are not treated as opposites. Here is why this matters. Protected areas make clearing mangroves illegal, but they do not change the economic reason people clear them in the first place. If you tell a shrimp farmer he cannot use the mangroves, but you offer him no alternative income, he has a strong incentive to ignore the law. Community-based management restructures the incentive. Instead of making clearance illegal, it makes clearance less profitable. When farmers benefit directly from keeping mangroves, they have a financial reason to protect them and to stop their neighbors from clearing them too. Local communities also have something government enforcement agencies don't: intimate knowledge of who is clearing what, and a direct personal stake in the outcome. The Vietnam case study. Vietnam lost approximately 50% of its mangroves to intensive shrimp farming in the late 20th century. The familiar cycle: clear, pond, degrade, abandon, repeat. Starting in the early 2000s, a new model was developed in Cà Mau province in the Mekong Delta. The core principle is simple but powerful. Farmers are allowed to continue shrimp farming, but they must maintain a minimum of 60% mangrove cover on their land. This 60% requirement is a legally binding condition of the farming license. The remaining 40% can be used for low-density, organic shrimp ponds without chemical inputs. The shrimp raised this way, using the natural productivity of the mangrove ecosystem for food and water filtration, can be certified as organic. That certification earns a price premium in export markets in Japan, the European Union, and the United States. Local community associations monitor compliance and train farmers in sustainable practices. Why does this model work when others don't? 4 reasons. First, the economic incentive is aligned with conservation. The price premium makes keeping mangroves more profitable than clearing them. Farmers do not just comply with the law, they genuinely benefit from compliance. Second, community ownership improves compliance. Because local farmers manage their own land and benefit from their neighbors' compliance, they monitor each other effectively. Enforcement is more consistent than it would be under an external government-policed protected area. Third, the ecosystem services of the retained mangrove benefit the farmers directly. The mangroves filter the water in the shrimp ponds, reducing the need for chemical inputs. They provide nursery habitat for juvenile shrimp and fish. They protect the farm from storm damage. Fourth, the model avoids the boom and bust cycle. Intensive shrimp farming degrades the land in 5 to 10 years and forces farmers to clear more forest. The integrated model maintains productivity indefinitely, no cycle of clearance and collapse. Strengths of the Vietnam integrated model. It addresses the root cause of mangrove loss, economic pressure from aquaculture, by making conservation financially rewarding. Communities self-monitor, which improves compliance. The retained mangroves provide practical ecosystem services that benefit the farmers directly. And within participating farms in Cà Mau, mangrove cover has stabilized or increased. Limitations. The model depends on sustained access to premium export markets. If organic shrimp prices fall, the financial incentive to maintain mangrove cover weakens. The entire logic depends on the price premium continuing. External verification of the 60% cover rule is resource-intensive, and the model has not reversed the large-scale historical losses across Vietnam as a whole. Judgment, highly effective within areas where it operates, and more sustainable in the long term than either replanting or protected areas used alone, because it aligns conservation with livelihoods. But it cannot restore what was lost before the model was introduced, and it cannot address sea level rise. Chapter 3. How to write a 6-mark evaluate answer. This is the most important thing in this video for your exam. Most students who know the content still lose marks on evaluate questions, not because they don't know about Vietnam or Singapore, but because they don't know the structure. An evaluate question requires 5 things. 1. Name the strategy and explain how it works. 2. Use a named case study with at least one specific detail, a location, a statistic, or an outcome. 3. Give evidence that the strategy has been effective. 4. Give at least one limitation developed. 5. Reach a final judgment that answers this specific question, how effective? That last step is what most students miss. They list strengths and weaknesses and then stop. The judgment is the answer to the question. Without it, you lose the highest marks. Let me show you what each step sounds like in a full answer. Step 1. One strategy used to manage mangroves is community-based management, which involves giving local communities shared responsibility for protecting mangroves while allowing sustainable use to continue. Step 2. Vietnam's integrated mangrove shrimp farming model in Cà Mau province requires farmers to maintain a minimum 60% mangrove cover as a condition of their farming license. The remaining 40% can be used for organic shrimp ponds that earn a price premium in Japan and EU markets. Step 3. Mangrove cover within participating farms has stabilized and in some areas increased. Farmers report higher incomes from certified organic shrimp than from conventional intensive methods. Step 4, however. The model depends on sustained premium export market access. If organic shrimp prices fall, the economic incentive to maintain mangrove cover weakens. Step 5. The judgment. Overall, this model is highly effective within participating farms because it aligns conservation with livelihoods, making it more self-sustaining than either replanting or protected areas used alone. However, it cannot restore mangroves that were lost before the model was introduced, and it cannot address the global cause of sea level rise. That is a complete 6-mark answer. Pause the video now. Write your own 6-mark answer to this question. Using a named example, evaluate how effective one strategy has been in conserving mangroves. Use the 5-step structure. Aim for 10 to 12 sentences. Allow yourself 10 minutes. Do not look at your notes. When you are ready, unpause for the model answer. Welcome back. Let me walk you through the model answer for the Vietnam Community Model. Step 1. Community-based management gives local communities shared responsibility for managing mangroves alongside sustainable use. That is the strategy named and explained. Step 2. Vietnam's integrated model in Cao Mau province requires farmers to maintain 60% mangrove cover as a condition of their farming license. Organic shrimp earns a price premium in Japan and EU markets. That is the case study with specific detail. Step 3. Within participating farms, mangrove cover has stabilized or increased. Farmers report higher incomes from certified organic shrimp than from intensive methods. That is the evidence. Step 4, however, the strategy depends on sustained premium export market access. If shrimp prices fall, the incentive to maintain cover weakens. That is the limitation developed. Step 5, the judgment. Overall, this model is moderately to highly effective within areas where it operates, because it aligns conservation with livelihoods, making it more self-sustaining than protected areas. However, it cannot address global sea level rise or reverse historical losses from before the model was introduced. 5 steps, 6 marks. Here is the same structure applied to Singapore replanting, in case that was your chosen strategy. Step 1. Replanting involves collecting propagules from parent trees and planting them into graded tidal zones, matching species to tidal elevation. Step 2. Singapore's NParks carries out replanting at Sungei Buloh Wetland Reserve and Mandai. The reserve covers approximately 22 hectares. Survival rates reach 60 to 80% when species matching is correct. Step 3. Replanting has successfully restored mangrove cover in degraded fringe zones, and community planting programs have built public awareness and support for conservation. Step 4, however, replanting is extremely limited in scale. Singapore has permanently lost over 95% of its original mangrove cover to land reclamation, and replanting cannot work on land where the tidal zone is gone. Judgment: replanting is meaningful but insufficient as a standalone strategy. It works best combined with legal protection and community engagement, but it cannot undo the scale of historical loss. Chapter 4: Mangrove versus Rainforest Management. This comparison can appear in the final exam. The key insight is in the last line of the comparison table, and I want you to remember it. 2 very different ecosystems, 2 very different threats. But the most effective management in both cases works on exactly the same principle. The threats differ significantly. Mangroves are threatened primarily by shrimp farming and coastal development, economic activities that target the coast itself. They also face the unique squeeze effect from sea level rise, which tropical rainforests do not face. Tropical rainforests are threatened by commercial logging, agricultural clearance for palm oil, cattle and soya, and mining. These are driven by the economic value of converting the land to other uses, not by what can be done with the water adjacent to the forest. The key contrast, aquaculture in mangroves, is driven by what the coastal water allows you to do with the land. Shrimp farms. Deforestation in rainforests is driven by the economic value of the cleared land itself, plantations and pasture. The strategies show interesting parallels. Both ecosystems use replanting. Mangroves use propagules planting. Rainforests use selective logging with replanting under FSC certification. Both ecosystems use protected areas. Sungei Buloh for mangroves, the heart of Borneo, covering 220,000 square kilometers, for rainforests in Malaysia and Brunei. But the most distinctive strategies reveal the shared principle. For mangroves, Vietnam's community model, farmers maintain 60% mangrove cover in exchange for a price premium on certified shrimp. For rainforests, REDD+, international financial payments from wealthy nations to developing countries in exchange for keeping forests standing. Both make conservation financially more rewarding than clearance. The mechanism is different. One uses product certification and market premium, the other uses international government-to-government payments. But the logic is identical. Change the economic incentive and behavior changes with it. Before the final recap, 5 mistakes to fix. Mistake 1. Aquaculture destroys mangroves. That gets you 1 mark in a 3-mark explain question. You need the full cycle: drain the land, level it, build ponds, farm intensively, abandon after 5 to 10 years when the soil degrades, leave the land too contaminated for regrowth. Mistake 2. The squeeze effect is when rising sea levels flood mangroves. That is incomplete. The squeeze effect is specifically about the combination of rising sea and a blocked landward migration route. Without the barrier, mangroves would migrate inland and survive. The wall is the key element. Mistake 3. Mangrove management is effective. No named example, no statistic, no judgment. An evaluate answer needs a named location, at least one specific fact, and an overall judgment on how effective. Mistake 4. Using the Vietnam case study without the key details. Vietnam protects mangroves by letting farmers keep some trees, earns 0 marks for the case study step. You need Vietnam, Ca Mau Province, 60% mangrove cover, farming license condition, price premium for organic certified shrimp in Japan and EU markets. Mistake 5. Confusing Singapore with Vietnam or using the wrong case study for the wrong question. If the question is about replanting or about Singapore's management approach, use NParks at Sungei, Buloh, and Mandai. If the question is about community-based management, sustainable aquaculture, or why economic incentives are effective, use Vietnam, Ca Mau Province. Keep those two clearly separate. 5 things to take away from this video. 1. The 3 threats. Aquaculture, drain, pond, abandon, repeat, semi-permanent, can be regulated locally. Land reclamation, permanent, the intertidal zone is gone. Sea level rise and the squeeze effect. Global cause, no local strategy can stop it. 2. The 3 strategies. Replanting restores what was lost, but slowly at small scale and only where the tidal zone still exists. Protected areas prevent future loss, but cannot restore what is gone or address sea level rise. Community-based management addresses the root economic cause, most sustainable in the long term. 3. Vietnam, Ca Mau, minimum 60% mangrove cover as a farming license condition. Price premium for organic certified shrimp in Japan and EU markets. The most complete exam answer for community-based management. 4. The 6-mark structure. Name and explain. Named case study with specific detail. Evidence of effectiveness. 1 limitation, developed. Final judgment that answers, how effective. Without the judgment, you lose the highest marks. 5. Vietnam and REDD plus work on the same principle. Make conservation more profitable than clearance. Same logic, different mechanism. 3 things to do right now. First, the exit ticket. 5 minutes, no notes. Second, the WA practice set. 8 marks, 18 minutes. Third, the final exam practice set. 8 marks, 20 minutes, including the full 6-mark evaluate question. Thank you for watching this series. If it helped you prepare for your exam, like and subscribe so more students can find it.